I never thought a single night could split my life into before and after, but that's exactly what happened. If anyone had asked me earlier that day how things were going, I would have smiled and said, good, stable, safe. I believed it truly. I believed in Ethan. I believed in Mia. I believed in the little world I thought we built together. I trusted Ethan Carter more than anyone. He was the calm to my storms, or at least that's what I told myself. He'd cut my face and say, Ivy, you worry too much. And I'd laugh because it felt true. I thought he loved me deeply, quietly, consistently. And Mia Dawson, God, Mia. She'd been beside me for years, the kind of friend who knew every version of me. She'd hug me from behind and say, you're stuck with me for life. I believed that too. Everything felt normal. That's what makes the moment it all shattered so vicious. I walked into Ethan's apartment like I always did, using the spare key he told me to keep forever. I remember humming some stupid song, thinking about dinner, about how I wanted to tell him I got praise from my boss. I was happy. I was stupidly happy. Then I heard it. A soft laugh, Mia's laugh. Too soft. Too warm. Then Ethan's voice, low, tender, a tone he'd never used with me. You feel incredible, he whispered. I can't believe we waited this long. My body froze so hard it hurt. I stepped closer even though I didn't want to. My heart was pounding in my ears, but I heard everything. Mia breathed out. What about Ivy? Ethan chuckled, a sound I used to love. She'll be fine. She always is. My knees nearly gave out. I wanted to burst through the door. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear down the walls. But instead I stood there like a ghost, listening to the two people I trusted most tear me apart without even knowing I was there. I whispered, no. But only to myself. I felt stupid, blind, small. Like every moment of love and friendship had been a trick I was too naive to see through. My heart cracked open in one quiet second. I backed away, careful not to make a sound. I told myself, don't cry. Not here. Not where they can see you. Not where they get to watch you break. I forced my feet to move. I forced my breath to stay silent. I forced myself to leave before my legs completely gave out. Outside, the cold air punched me in the lungs. I leaned against the wall, shaking hard enough I thought I might fall over. I kept hearing Ethan's voice, that soft whisper he never used with me. You feel incredible. God. Felt like a knife. My phone buzzed, Mia's name lighting up the screen with a message. Are you almost here? We're waiting. Waiting. For me. While they were with each other. I wanted to scream. Instead, I slid the phone into my pocket because I refused to let myself fall apart right there on the sidewalk. Not for them. Not anymore. I walked away. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what would happen next. All I knew was that something inside me had shattered so deeply that I would never be the same again. This was the night my world cracked. The night everything shifted. The night I learned love can be a blade. And the people you trust most can be the ones who twist it. I told myself I was ready, but my hands were shaking so hard I had to hide them in my pockets. I stood outside Ethan's apartment door, breathing in, breathing out, whispering, just say it. Just face them. My stomach twisted, but I knocked anyway. Ethan opened the door with that practiced calm he always used. Hey Ivy. You look tense. What's going on? I stepped inside, scanning the room until Mia appeared from the kitchen, eyes widening like she'd seen a ghost. I said, we need to talk. All three of us. Mia crossed her arms. About what? I stared at them, feeling my chest tighten. Don't do that. Don't pretend you don't know. Ethan frowned. Ivy, you're not making sense. The way he said it, slow, patronizing, lit something sharp inside me. I heard you, I said. Both of you. The other night. Mia's face paled. Then she recovered with a shaky shrug. Look, things just got complicated. You've been distant lately. I didn't know where we stood. Stop. My voice cracked, but I forced myself to keep going. You're not blaming me for you sleeping with my boyfriend. Ethan raised a hand. Can we be rational for a second? Rational. I laughed, but it came out broken. I walked in on you whispering to her like she was the love of your life. Mia stepped forward. Ivy, you've been so wrapped up in work. You barely noticed Ethan anymore. That doesn't justify betrayal. I shouted. God, do you even hear yourselves? Ethan sighed like I was the problem. We didn't plan. I walked into the office, and the silence hit me first. Not complete silence, just whispers, glances that lingered too long, smiles that didn't reach eyes. Everyone suddenly seemed aware I existed only as a rumor, a cautionary tale. Noah Lin, the new junior analyst, approached quietly. "Hey, Ivy?" His voice was careful. "I don't know if you've heard, but people are saying some things about you. About Adrian and Lauren's story." "What kind of things?" I asked, my hands curling into fists beneath my desk. I already knew the answer, but I needed him to say it aloud. "They're saying you were controlling, unstable, that it's your fault they..." He stopped, swallowing. "Basically, they're rewriting what happened." I felt my stomach twist. "And people believe it?" "Some do," he admitted. "But others, I think they're starting to question it." I nodded slowly, staring at my coffee mug like it could anchor me. "I have to hear from him," I muttered. "From Adrian?" Noah asked, raising an eyebrow. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" "I need to," I said. "I need the truth, even if it's ugly." I picked up my phone and typed quickly, "We need to talk. Now. The truth, no games." I hit send. Minutes crawled by. Then a reply appeared. "Move on with dignity." No explanation. No remorse. Just those 6 words, cold and flat. I felt something inside me snap. Not a scream or a sob, something quieter, sharper, alive. I realized it wasn't just my heart that had been shattered. My identity, my sense of self, had been stolen alongside my trust. I shoved my phone onto the desk. "They can't have this," I whispered to no one. "Not anymore." Noah looked at me concerned. "What will you do?" "I'll write my own story," I said firmly, my voice steadier than I expected. "They can twist the past, but the future is mine." He nodded slowly. "Then I'll help however I can." I managed a small, tight smile. "Thank you. For being honest. For not playing their game." The whispers didn't stop. People still looked. But I didn't flinch. Not today. For the first time since everything broke, I felt a spark of something unfamiliar, control. Not over them, but over me. My story wasn't theirs to ruin anymore. I exhaled slowly. "Time to start rewriting," I muttered under my breath, staring out the office window. The world hadn't ended. It had just given me a blank page. Emily walked in with a purposeful stride, her eyes sharp but warm. "I've set up a meeting for you," she said, handing me a card. "You need someone who sees things clearly, someone who can guide you." I looked down at the name. Dr. Elaine Harper. The title alone made my chest tighten. A career strategist? Really, Emily? After everything? My voice trailed off. "She's not just about careers," Emily interrupted. "She sees potential. She'll challenge you. And right now, you need someone to do that." I sighed but followed her anyway, my heels clicking against the lobby floor. When Dr. Harper's office door opened, I felt my pulse quicken. She looked at me once and nodded, as if she'd already assessed every piece of me in a single glance. "Sit," she said simply. No smile, no pretense. Her tone was neutral but commanding. I obeyed. "You're Ivy," she began, her eyes piercing. "I've read your file. Adrian Blake. Lauren Green. The public fallout. Tell me, what do you want from this? Justice? Revenge? Peace?" Her words cut through the air, sharp and unyielding. I hesitated. I don't know. I just want everything to stop hurting." I admitted, my throat tight. She leaned back, folding her hands. "Hurting isn't a strategy. Sitting in anger isn't a plan. You can stay a victim or you can take control. Which is it?" I stared at her. I want control," I said finally, though it sounded foreign even as I said it. "Good," she replied, her tone approving but firm. "Then we start there. No excuses. No distractions. You step away from the past entirely. Unpaid leave. Remove yourself from your old environment. Only then can you rebuild." Emily gave me a small, encouraging smile. "She's right. You need space." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I can do that. I have to." Dr. Harper leaned forward. "And while you're away, you will reflect. You will confront your weaknesses. You will face your emptiness." Her gaze held mine, unyielding. "Do you understand?" Yes, I whispered. It was more than understanding. It was acceptance. That night, I returned to my apartment, silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. I locked the door and stood in front of the mirror. My reflection looked unfamiliar, pale, tired, but oddly resolute. I traced the outline of my face with trembling fingers. I don't know who you are anymore, I murmured, addressing the reflection. But maybe that's okay. Empty. That was the word that came to me. Not broken, not defeated. Empty. And in that emptiness I sensed a strange freedom. No expectations. No obligations. No Adrian. No Lauren. Just me, and the possibility to rebuild brick by brick from nothing. I sank into the edge of the bed, eyes still fixed on my own reflection. If I'm empty now, then maybe I can be everything I want to be later, I whispered. For the first time since everything had collapsed, I felt a flicker of something like hope. Not the naive, hollow hope I'd clung to before. This was deliberate. Hard-earned. A decision. Tomorrow I would take the first real step away from what destroyed me. And this time I wouldn't look back. I stared at the list Dr. Harper had written on the whiteboard. Daily progress. Small victories. Measured risks. Her words had felt harsh at first, but now they were my compass. No shortcuts, she said during our video call. You rebuild, you don't pretend. Each small step matters. I nodded. I understand, I said, trying not to let the tremor in my voice show. It's just exhausting sometimes. Good, she replied sharply, yet with a hint of encouragement. Exhaustion means you're moving forward. Stop waiting for validation from people who betrayed you. Your growth is enough. I hung up and returned to my desk where Noah had left a sticky note. Lunch today? My treat. No work talk. I smiled faintly, appreciating the gesture. At the cafeteria, he waited with a quiet smile. You look different, he said. More grounded. Different doesn't always mean better, I muttered, stirring my coffee. But I'll take it. Noah, do you ever feel like people are waiting for you to fail, just to say I told you so? I asked, finally voicing the thought I'd held back. All the time, he admitted, leaning back. But they can't touch what you build quietly. You're doing the work. That's what matters. Let them talk. I nodded, letting the thought settle. For the first time in months, I realized their whispers didn't have the power they once held. Adrian's smile, Lauren's supposed charm, the lies. They were becoming irrelevant. My own progress carried more weight than their narratives. At night, I followed Dr. Harper's challenge, therapy sessions twice a week, a structured work schedule, and setting boundaries with friends and colleagues. Each task was small, but each felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. When I finally checked my reflection in the mirror after a long day, I noticed a spark. Not joy exactly, but something firmer. Confidence. A hint of quiet power. One evening, Noah stopped by my desk. Hey, he said softly. I heard the board liked your proposal. They mentioned your name first. I blinked. Really? Yes, he smiled. You're making waves quietly. People are noticing. I laughed, a little breathless. Quietly, huh? That suits me. He nodded. Exactly. Let them catch up. Back at my apartment, I scrolled social media briefly, expecting the usual pangs. But Adrian and Lauren's posts, once sharp knives, felt dull. Their curated happiness no longer mattered. Each notification of my small success, each approving email or note from colleagues, felt like a brick building a foundation beneath me. Dr. Harper called that night. Your consistency is showing. That's power, Ivy. Quiet power. Keep going. I will, I said. And I meant it. For the first time, I recognized a pattern. Every controlled choice, every step toward independence, every quiet victory was shifting me from a victim to someone rising. The old world that had shattered me felt smaller. My world, reconstructed with patience and discipline, felt infinite. And I was beginning to realize that this quiet power could never be taken away. Not by Adrian, not by Lauren, not by anyone. I was sipping coffee when Noah appeared at my desk, leaning casually against the edge. You might want to sit down, he said, his voice low. I frowned. What is it now? He slid a folded printout toward me. Rumors. About Adrian and Lauren. Things aren't going smoothly. I scanned the headlines and office whispers he had compiled. Arguments, work failures, missed deadlines. Lauren struggling to meet expectations. Adrian's promotion stalled. My chest tightened, but I kept my voice calm. And people actually believe these rumors? Some do, Noah admitted. But more are questioning them now. They're starting to see cracks in the story you didn't create. I leaned back in my chair, trying not to smile. Cracks, I repeated softly. The word felt like a whisper of justice, though I knew better than to call it that. Don't celebrate yet, Noah warned. It's slow. People forget quickly. I know, I said. It's not celebration. It's observation. And patience. Later, I walked to Dr. Harper's office. They're crumbling, I said, unable to keep a small hint of satisfaction out of my tone. Dr. Harper didn't smile. She folded her hands on the desk. Good. But that doesn't mean it's your victory yet. Karma has a schedule, not a clock you control. I nodded. I understand. But watching them falter, it feels like breathing fresh air after being underwater for months. Keep focused on your growth, she said sharply. Your silence, your consistency, that's your real leverage. Don't let curiosity or anger drag you off course. I won't, I promised, the words more firm than my heartbeat. By the time I returned to my apartment, the sun had dipped below the horizon. My phone vibrated, an unfamiliar name lighting up the screen. Adrian. I stared at it for a long moment. How dare you? The impulse screamed. But I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the message carefully, reading every word as if they could burn themselves into my memory. Hey, it's been a while. How are you? I exhaled slowly, deliberately. My fingers hovered over the screen. Then I locked the phone and set it aside. Silence. More powerful than any argument, any confrontation I could muster. I poured myself a glass of wine and perched on the balcony, feeling the chill of the night on my skin. The city lights stretched endlessly below, indifferent to my life, indifferent to Adrian or Lauren, indifferent to anyone except themselves. I realized something. Time, consistency, quiet work, they would expose the truth. My patience, my choices, my dedication to rebuilding myself were stronger than any drama they could manufacture. Noah's words echoed in my mind. Let them talk. You're doing the work. That's what matters. I smiled faintly. I'm doing the work, I whispered to the wind, almost like an affirmation, almost like a promise. And for the first time in months, I felt control, not revenge, not justice, but control. That was enough. I didn't need to respond. I didn't need to explain. Their collapse, slow or fast, didn't require my attention. I had rebuilt my world quietly, brick by brick. And that foundation was unshakable. Tonight Adrian's message would remain unread, a ghost of what I no longer allowed myself to fear. Silence, I realized, had more power than words ever could, and I intended to wield it wisely. I was reviewing the quarterly reports when Lucas Kim appeared at my desk, his expression casual but intentional. Ivy, he said, lowering his voice. Can I steal a minute? I glanced up. Of course. What's on your mind? He leaned against the edge, hands in pockets. There's a new project coming up. High visibility, high stakes. I recommended you to lead it. I blinked. Me. My voice caught on disbelief before settling into something steadier. Why me? Lucas smirked faintly. Because you're the only one I trust to handle it without drama. You've proven your capability, and your resilience. I felt a thrill, subtle but undeniable. Resilience, huh? That's a polite way of saying I survived chaos. He chuckled. Exactly. Think of it as recognition, not reward. I nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of the opportunity. I'll take it. No hesitation. Good, Lucas said. I expected nothing less. As he walked away, Emily appeared at my side, eyes flickering with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. Lucas just told me, she whispered. You're officially making waves. I raised an eyebrow. Waves. She leaned closer. Lauren's been asking around. Seems like she's unsettled by your influence. I let the word settle in my chest. Influence. Not pity. Not gossip. Not fear. Influence. That's nice to hear, I said carefully, a quiet smile tugging at the corner of my lips. Finally, people are seeing me for what I can do. Emily's smile softened. Exactly. No one's watching the woman who got hurt anymore. They're watching the woman rising. I exhaled, letting that sink into my bones. For months I had measured myself against their chaos, against lies, against the world that told me I was fragile. And now? Now I was measured against my own growth. Are you okay? Emily asked, noting my sudden quiet. I nodded. More than okay. This feels like reclaiming something I didn't even know I lost. She nudged my shoulder lightly. You've always had it in you. You just needed the right moment. And the right push. I leaned back in my chair, fingers tapping the edge rhythmically. I can't let this go to my head. But it's the first time in a long time I feel validated. Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And you deserve it, she said firmly. Don't forget that. I met her gaze and smiled genuinely, the kind of smile that came from knowing I had rebuilt my foundation brick by brick, quietly and deliberately. The office buzzed around me, but I noticed the shift. Colleagues whispered, not with concern or pity, but with respect. My contributions were being noticed. My strength was being recognized. And I felt a steady pulse of power rise inside, not from vengeance, not from proving them wrong, but from claiming my own agency. For the first time I wasn't reacting. I was leading. I wasn't defined by betrayal or absence. I was defined by me. And the world, whether they liked it or not, was taking note. I was leaving the office late, tired but satisfied, when a familiar voice stopped me mid-step. Ivy, Adrian called, his tone hesitant, almost unrecognizable. I turned slowly, facing the man who once promised forever. He looked smaller somehow, weighed down by months I had spent rebuilding myself. I didn't expect to see you here, I said, keeping my voice neutral, careful. I just wanted to. His words faltered. I need closure. Can we talk? I studied him, noticing the lines that hadn't been there before, the exhaustion in his eyes. Closure, I repeated. After everything? Yes, after everything. With Lauren, it's not what I thought it would be. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. I was wrong. I kept my expression calm. You were wrong a lot, Adrian. He swallowed, taking a small step closer. I know. Could we talk properly someday? Just once. I shook my head gently, a faint, controlled smile on my lips. You already had your chance. I've moved on. His shoulders slumped, disbelief flashing across his face. Moved on? Already? I nodded. Yes. Moved on, rebuilt and survived. And I don't need your permission for peace. He opened his mouth, searching for words, then closed it again. I waited, not impatient, just steady. Finally, I stepped forward past him, letting my actions speak louder than any lecture could. I walked away first, leaving him standing there with an empty apology hanging in the air. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. A message from Lauren. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Can we talk? Please. I stared at the words, the casual manipulation behind the feigned remorse clear. My fingers hovered over the screen. Do you miss me? Another message followed. I exhaled, shaking my head. Not today. Not ever. I blocked her. The screen went blank, and for the first time in months, I felt a kind of quiet liberation. No explanations, no more justifications, no more entanglement. Their need for validation no longer mattered to me. I thought back to Adrian's expression, the way he searched for something I wasn't giving. The power in this moment wasn't in revenge, it was in detachment. In knowing I didn't need them to acknowledge my worth or survival. Later, I texted Emily casually. They came by today. Both of them. She replied instantly. And? I smiled faintly. I walked away first. Felt freeing. Good, she wrote back. You're finally untouchable. And I was. Untouched by their regrets, their lies, their desperate attempts to reclaim a past that no longer existed. I realized as I poured a cup of tea and leaned against my kitchen counter, that freedom wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, resolute, unshakable. No one could reach the part of me I had rebuilt with care, with patience, with determination. Not Adrian. Not Lauren. Not anyone who had ever underestimated me. I poured another cup of tea, the steam rising gently. The weight of betrayal was still there, but it no longer controlled me. For the first time I felt untethered. Independent. Complete. And for the first time, I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. I was finally walking forward, leaving the shadows of their mistakes behind. Noah came by my desk mid-morning, a quiet urgency in his tone. "Ivy, have you seen the headlines?" I glanced at him, half smiling. "About Adrian?" He nodded. "Scandal at his office. Financial mismanagement, internal complaints. It's all over the news." I leaned back, sipping my coffee. Finally. "Not that it matters to me." "No, but people are talking," Noah said. "And Lauren, her story isn't holding up either. Colleagues are noticing discrepancies, contradictions in her posts. The truth is surfacing." I felt a strange calm, like watching a storm pass without standing in the rain. "And they thought they could rewrite my story," I muttered. "They underestimated time and consistency," Noah said softly. "Truth has a way of catching up." I smiled faintly, feeling a distance I hadn't known before. "I'm not celebrating, though. That would feel petty. I'm just detached." Noah raised an eyebrow. "Detached?" "Yes. I'm outside it. Their chaos no longer touches me. I watched for months while they tried to control perception. Now it's unraveling, and I'm free from caring about their lies." He nodded knowingly. "That's strength." Later, I scrolled through social media. Adrian's once polished image had cracks. Stories about his promotion, his charm, his reputation, everything was tainted. Comments ranged from shocked to amused, a public recalibration of what they thought they knew. Lauren's carefully crafted innocence had been dissected and found wanting. People began piecing together the inconsistencies, the timelines that didn't make sense, the behavior that betrayed her claims. I didn't feel glee. I didn't feel vengeance. Just quiet closure. The world had adjusted to the truth on its own schedule, without my interference. At lunch, Noah stopped by again. "Ivy, it's official. They're scrambling. Questions everywhere. Their credibility is crumbling." I took a slow breath, looking out the window at the city bustling below. It's strange. I should feel satisfaction, but I feel nothing toward them. Only peace. Distance. I have my life, my work, my rebuilding. That's what matters now. He smiled. "That's more than most people achieve after betrayal. You've transformed it into freedom, not revenge." "Freedom," I repeated. The word felt solid, grounding. They can fall all they want. I've learned not to tether my happiness to their actions. Not anymore. Noah nodded. "And they'll remember that someday." I turned back to my desk, organizing papers, scheduling meetings. Adrian and Lauren's stories were collapsing, yes, but it was their own doing. I didn't need to intervene, to prove anything, to participate in the spectacle. I watched from the sidelines, calm, unshaken, untouchable. By the time the day ended, the headlines had multiplied, posts gone viral, whispers spreading through networks. I packed my bag slowly, aware of the quiet power in walking away from it all. Their mistakes had consequences, and I didn't need to be involved. For the first time in months, I felt the weight of betrayal lift completely. I stepped into the evening air, free from old ties, untethered from past chaos, and fully alive in my own story. Evan knocked lightly before entering my office. "Got a minute?" he asked, voice calm, casual. I looked up from my reports. "Sure." He leaned against the doorframe, not hovering. "You've been quiet lately." "Not the usual Ivy energy." I shrugged, trying to keep it light. "Just catching up on work. Long week." He nodded slowly. "I get that. Just wanted to check in." I blinked, surprised by the simplicity. No judgment, no probing. "Thanks," I murmured. "You don't have to explain," he said. "I'll listen if you want to talk. If not, that's fine too." I stared at him, realizing how rare that was. Someone who offered space and presence without demand. "I appreciate that," I admitted. Over the next few weeks, Evan became a constant, quiet presence. In the office, he'd drop by with coffee or share a funny observation. "Ivy, did you see that typo in the memo? Epic fail," he teased lightly, and for the first time, I laughed freely without fear of being judged. One afternoon, we sat in the lounge, laptops open but neither working much. "Do you ever feel like people only see what they want?" I asked. He tilted his head, considering. "All the time. That's why I try to see people fully, not through assumptions. Doesn't always work, but it's the goal." I smiled faintly, warmth creeping into my chest. You make it seem easy. He shrugged. It's not. Just worth it. I hesitated, then admitted. I've been hurt. A lot. Trust, it's hard. He nodded, eyes gentle. I know. And I won't push. You set the pace. I'm here not to fix, not to rush, just to be. Be. I echoed, intrigued. Be present. Be steady. Be someone who sees you clearly without expectations. I stared at him, feeling a fragile thread of trust form. No pressure. No performance. Just being seen simply as myself. Days turned into shared lunches, small conversations, quiet moments where nothing dramatic happened. He never pried into the past. He never judged my walls. Ivy, if you ever want to talk about anything, you know where I am, he said one morning, handing me my usual latte. Thanks, Evan, I said softly. I think I could try. He gave a small, encouraging smile. No rush. No rules. Just here. For the first time, I realized connection didn't have to hurt. Trust didn't have to terrify. Presence didn't have to demand. Later, as I walked back to my desk, I felt it. A quiet hope, fragile but real. Someone could see me without judgment. Someone could stay without controlling. And maybe, just maybe, I could let myself be seen again. Evan wasn't rushing, wasn't judging, wasn't rewriting my story. He was just there. And that simple presence whispered a promise I hadn't believed possible. Stability, patience, and maybe even love that didn't hurt. Congratulations, Ivy, Lucas said, handing me the award certificate. Everyone's talking about your project. You did it. I smiled, accepting it. Thanks. Couldn't have done it without your guidance. He shook his head. You carried it. All you. Later in the office lounge, Emily leaned close. I saw the headlines. Adrian must be seeing your name everywhere. Feels good, right? I shrugged, sipping my coffee. It's not about him. It's about me. Finally, the work speaks for itself. Noah appeared beside me, quiet as ever. People are noticing. They're seeing the real you, not the story he tried to write. I nodded. Exactly. That's all I wanted. Recognition, yes, but more importantly, I wanted control. I have it now. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I opened it. Adrian. I never realized what I had. I'm sorry. Maybe we can. I didn't finish reading. I deleted it immediately. My thumb hovered over the screen for a second longer, then swiped away the last trace. No drama. No reply. Peace. Emily glanced at me. Done with that chapter? I smiled faintly. Yes. Done. I can't rewrite the past, and I don't need his apology to validate me. Evening fell and I stepped outside. The city lights reflected in the glass building. Headlines of my success streamed online, my name, my achievements, my vision. Adrian never believed I could reach this level. And now the world did. Ping drew my attention. A notification. Lauren's profile had gone silent. She posted nothing. Her influence faded. People weren't paying attention to her lies anymore. I exhaled slowly. Interesting how life has its own timing, I whispered. Emily reached over, touching my shoulder. You've earned every bit of this. Not through revenge, but by living, thriving. That's stronger than any grudge. I nodded, letting her words sink in. I realized something, Emily. It's not about them falling. It's about standing. Lucas appeared with a soft smile. You're inspiring, Ivy. Not just the team, but everyone watching. You turned betrayal into fuel. I looked at him, feeling the weight lift. It wasn't easy. Some nights I doubted if I'd ever feel normal again. But here I am. And that's enough. Noah chimed in quietly. You've changed the narrative without touching theirs. That's power. Silent but undeniable. I laughed softly, a sound that felt foreign yet right. I think I finally understand. Survival isn't about breaking anyone else. It's about reclaiming yourself. Every small step, every late night, every choice not to reply to them, it all adds up. Emily smiled. Exactly. You didn't fight them, Ivy. You outgrew them. I looked at the skyline, lights shimmering like possibilities. I've survived. And that's my victory. Noah nodded. And it's only the beginning. I realized he was right. For the first time in months, I felt whole. Not because Adrian or Lauren fell, but because I rose. I rose quietly, firmly, untouchable by past betrayals. I stared out the office window, the city lights shimmering like fragments of everything I once thought I'd lost. "It's quiet," Evan said beside me, his voice soft, almost hesitant, but not in a bad way. Just steady. I turned to him, noticing how calm he always seemed, how present. "It feels right," I admitted. "After all the noise, all the chaos, quiet feels powerful." Evan smiled faintly. "You've earned it. You fought without fighting. That's rare." I chuckled, shaking my head. "I didn't fight anyone. I outgrew them. That's the thing. While they clawed for control, I rebuilt myself. Piece by piece." Emily appeared, leaning against the doorway, arms crossed, her eyes bright with pride. "You've come a long way, Ivy. I knew you could do it, but seeing it, it's something else." "Thanks," I said, my voice catching slightly. I wasn't sure I could ever feel normal again after everything. Emily approached, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Normal isn't the point anymore. You're stronger than normal. You're untouchable." Evan laughed softly, looking between us. "She's right. Untouchable isn't arrogance here. It's resilience. It's control. It's freedom." I took a deep breath, feeling it fill every corner of me. "Freedom," I repeated. I never thought I'd get to this point. Not after Adrian, not after Lauren, all those lies, all that betrayal. I thought I'd be defined by them forever. "You were," Emily said gently, "until you decided you wouldn't be. You chose yourself." I looked down at my hands, flexing them as if they held a new kind of power. Choosing myself wasn't easy. Some nights I stayed awake, thinking about what I'd lost, what they'd taken. But slowly I realized the only thing they could never take was my ability to rise. Evan's gaze softened. "And rise you did. Not by knocking them down, but by standing tall while they crumbled around themselves." I smiled faintly. "I didn't need revenge. Their downfall, it's their own doing. Lies can't last. Karma doesn't need me to rush it." Emily nodded. "Exactly. And in the meantime you grew, learned, and took your place. That's far more permanent than any fleeting victory." I thought of the headlines, the recognition, the quiet strength I felt in my own reflection each morning. Every small step, every choice not to respond to Adrian, every time I refused to explain myself to the world, it added up. And now I see it clearly. I'm not the woman they thought they could erase. I'm someone else entirely. Evan reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Someone extraordinary. Someone steady. Someone who knows her worth without needing anyone else to confirm it. I laughed softly, a sound free and unburdened. I never knew I could feel this untouchable. Not arrogant, not unfeeling, just solid. Whole. Finally whole. Emily smiled, stepping back to watch me, pride radiating from her. "You've earned it, Ivy. Permanent rebirth doesn't need noise, it doesn't need applause. It just needs consistency, courage, and patience. You have all three." I exhaled, letting the weight of the past months settle around me, then lift. "They thought they won," I said quietly, almost to myself. "Adrian, Lauren, everyone who ever doubted me. They thought they could erase me, redefine me, make me small. But this is just the beginning. I'm not chasing them, not watching them. I'm moving forward. And it's unstoppable." Evan's hand found mine, firm and grounding. "Then go forward, Ivy. Take it all. You've earned every bit of this life, every bit of this peace." I looked out the window again, the city lights reflecting infinite possibilities. "I've survived," I whispered, feeling the words solidify inside me. "I've risen. And nothing can touch that." Emily leaned against the frame, her smile unwavering. "You've rewritten the story they tried to write for you. And this ending, it belongs entirely to you." I nodded, a serene smile spreading across my face. "It does. Not because I destroyed anyone, not because I fought to hurt them, but because I rebuilt myself. Because I finally understand. Survival isn't just staying alive. It's reclaiming every piece of yourself. And I did it. Quietly, firmly, without apology. Untouchable." Evan squeezed my hand. "And it's only the beginning." I closed my eyes for a moment, feeling every loss, every struggle, every victory. "Yes," I said softly. "Only the beginning."